Sideling Hill Creek. It's a beautiful spot. Today's topic is bridges. But first, let's have a look at where we are. Here's part of western Maryland. Down here's the Potomac River. It's the southern border of Maryland. And up here's the state border with Pennsylvania. Here's Sideling Hill Creek. It's the main topic for today. And in Maryland, it's also the border between Allegheny County and Washington County. Now this creek has a tributary called Bear Creek. This big ridge down the middle is Sideling Hill. And off to the west is Town Hill, and to the east is Tenalloway Ridge. So let's have a look at the roads. Here's where the first generation road went. It crosses Sideling Hill Creek, it climbs up the side of the mountain, and it makes this hairpin turn at the top. So this was the main road through here from 1821 all the way up to 1949. And then the second generation realignment got underway, and here's how it looked. It wasn't necessarily shorter, but it was better. The roads were a lot straighter and the turns were a lot gentler. Now there's still that hairpin turn at the top, but it's not in exactly the same place. And you can still see this if you go up there. Here's the first generation turn. It's still public road. And here's the second generation hairpin turn. And many of us can still remember this. There used to be a fruit stand up there. So then came the road that's now signed as Interstate 68. The section over Sideling Hill opened in 1985. Now this new alignment doesn't go around the old hairpin turn. Instead, they made this enormous cut right through the ridge. And without a doubt, this is the best known landmark anywhere on Interstate 68. You can see it for miles around. And it exposes some amazing geology. So that's the big picture. For the rest of this show, I'll be focusing on this area here because that's where all the bridges are. And I'm sitting right about here.
First generation.
I'd like to read you this story from 1841. The road crosses a stream at Sideling Hill called Sideling Hill Creek. There was a covered bridge over this creek. In 1841, John Moss and Billy George, old wagoners, drove their teams on this bridge and stopping a while to rest under the shade afforded by the roof. The bridge broke down, precipitating horses, wagons, and drivers a distance of 14 feet to the water, causing considerable damage to the wagons and the goods therein. But strange to say, inflicting but slight injuries upon the drivers and teams. The teams and wagons belonged to Robert Newlove of Wheeling. Now, I don't have a picture of the old covered bridge. Here's the earliest bridge that I do have a picture of. It's a metal truss bridge. That bridge was demolished in 1925. But there's still remnants. If you go here, you can see the old stone abutments. So in 1925, they built this concrete arch bridge. And here it is. Now, this road is no longer signed as Route 40. Today it's McFarland Road. But the old bridge is still here, and you can still drive across it. Here's how this bridge looked back in the day. In our time, the road alignment is the same, but the pavement has changed. I want to draw attention to these strips of concrete at the edges of the road. This is very typical of pavement from around the 1930s. Now, I want to talk about this old postcard. The text identifies it as being on the west side of Sideling Hill. So it's got to be somewhere fairly close to where I'm sitting. But I had a hard time figuring this one out. because there isn't any place on the west side of Sideling Hill that looks like this. But there used to be. And it's right over there on the other side of this bridge. And you can see this on the 1910 topo map. They straightened out this road in 1925 when they built the new bridge. And the State Road Commission wrote about it in their big report. The dangerous curve and one-way bridge on the west side of Sideling Hill was eliminated by relocating the road and building a modern 85-foot span arch and a 20-foot slab bridge. Now, the slab bridge is just a little further up. They're talking about the bridge over Bear Creek. Here's one more picture of that old U-bend. This is looking from the other direction, and the metal truss bridge would have been out of view just to the left.
Second generation.
So, second generation road. Here's how things looked in 1947, and obviously the first generation road was already there. Now, in 1949, the second generation project got underway, and here's where the new alignment went. And they needed a new bridge over Sideling Hill Creek. So this was the main road from 1952 up until 1985. And then Interstate 68 opened, and the new alignment was just a little bit north of the old one. I guess they moved the alignment so that the turning radius could be a little bit more gentle. So anyway, now there was no longer any need for this old loop on the second generation road. So they demolished the second generation bridge, and they removed the pavement from the rest of the loop. So now this is an abandoned piece of road. But you can still see it. Here's a photo from 2008, and you can clearly see the ghost of the old road. Now I want to go back to this 1947 photo for a minute. Right before Bear Creek flows into Sideling Hill Creek, the two creeks were separated by this high, narrow ridge. And when they built the second generation road, they had to make a cut through that ridge. And there's a surviving photo of that work in progress. Here's what the bridge looked like. It looks pretty modern. It's a girder-type bridge sitting on concrete piers. Unfortunately, you can't go see it anymore, but we can still appreciate where it was. Here's a little mystery. This is that cut through the ridge, and there's a sharp drop where the bridge used to be. But the terrain on the other side of the creek is a lot lower. Now, that's strange. The bridge should have met terrain at about the same level. Well, LiDAR is our friend. It looks to me like there used to be an embankment here, but they scooped it out. So here's the mystery. Why would they bother to do that? Why not just leave it? Well, my guess is they needed the fill dirt somewhere else. But if that's the case, they must have done it after the third generation road was open, because before that, they still needed the old road to carry traffic. So I'm not sure what happened here. They usually try to avoid hauling fill dirt over long distances. Here's something similar. At this spot, that ridge used to be there, but they flattened it out. Now, as far as the road is concerned, it would have been just fine to have steep cuts on both sides of the road. So probably they needed this for fill dirt. In this case, I'm guessing it ended up in this embankment.
Third generation.
So this brings us up to the present day. Here are the modern interstate bridges. They made this cut when they moved the alignment a little to the north. The layers of rock are almost vertical. This is part of that same synclinal structure that's exposed in the big cut at the top of the hill. Here's what we've seen. Here's the big cut at the top. Here are the modern interstate bridges. Right here is where the second generation bridge used to be. And over here is where the various first generation bridges have been. So that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.